Hello everybody, Steffi here from The Makers. Welcome to our fourth Advent Wreath needle felting project. I basically lit the candles beforehand because there's 4 to light and I didn't want to waste time making you watch me light the candles. So how exciting is it today? On a scale of 1 to 10, how exciting? Well, I'm right up there by probably hovering around 11 and 12 because this was the bit that personally I was really waiting for to share with you. So but before I do this, let's have a quick look who's here in the house today. So obviously Alicia, as usual, in my ear. We've got Diane there. Hi, Diane. Cindy, hi. Hi, Cindy. Good morning from California. Karen, hi Karen, hi, how are you all doing? I have yet to start my wreath, but it is an amazing make. Oh, that's lovely. It's that might be quite nice actually to wait right until the end and then start yours. It's just a different way. Vicky is there, all the way from Scotland. Awkward Prawn, hello, and who else have we got here? Vampire Venom and Marion and Laura and Sarah. Hi Sarah, enjoying true Yorkshire Christmas delicacy, Christmas cake and cheese, cheddar. Ooh, yes, in the same mouthful. I quite like sweet and sort of cheesy things together. So I like cheese and chocolate. Does anybody like cheese and chocolate? I like cheese and chocolate. Anybody? Karen says, sob, no post, no makers stuff, but hey, it will give me something to do betwixt. I think that means between Christmas and New Year. Anyway, I'm so sorry if your post hasn't arrived. It will. I promise. Laura says she comes from Yorkshire herself and she loves Christmas cake and cheese. That is definitely a different acquaintance for your taste buds. But like I say, I do like chocolate and cheese. Sorry, chocolate. No, I like chocolate and chips. Crisps. That's what I meant to say. Chocolate and crisps. That's what I like. Like eating them alternatively. Chocolate and cheese. Must try that. That doesn't sound too bad either. We've got Marion here. Oh no, I said that already. Oh no, that's a different Marion from Perth, Western Australia. Welcome to you, to the other side of the world. Susan is there from Chile, Massachusetts. And we've got somebody here we've got Wendy here from the sunny Kent. In the UK, of course. Right, and let's have a look. Oh, and Diane has only just opened week 4. How exciting is that? Doing it literally now. We've had snow, masses of snow, as you've probably seen. And then on Sunday night, I went to bed and there was still snow. And then on Monday morning, I woke up and then there was none. I cannot believe how the transformation happened, but literally from minus, say, 5, we went up to 15 degrees Celsius, of course. So anyway, let's have a look what was inside your calendar, not calendar, what was inside your Advent Wreath number 4 parcel. All this wool, lots of wool, some wire, our flexible steel wire, our favorite, and some stripy knitted tube, and some glue and ice. This can only mean one thing, right? Only one thing, and it is you're going to make a cozy tomta. So this is project number 4 for the Advent Wreath, and of course he's going to be sitting on the Advent Wreath a little bit like this. And on here we've even given you ideas that you could turn his little red hat into a toadstool hat if you wanted him to be more of a toadstool gnome maybe. And so basically what we've said in week 4, and the most important project will be revealed. Make your friendly tomta sitting by the campfire, keeping warm. We have a special new technique, up our sleeves, or should we say up his trouser legs. This little fella will keep you company from now on until Christmas, so treat him well. And remember, tomta need a nice warm bowl of porridge for Christmas, so he will be your good luck mascot for all of 2023. Now, I have kept this book here on standby. Some of you have seen it, some of you haven't, but it is called The Christmas Tomta, and I apologize that it looks well loved because it has been well loved. This is actually the book that I used to read to my children, and I will just give you a very quick view on the overview camera. And I hope I haven't moved the camera. Please be in the right place. Oh yes, good enough. Right, so this is the book that I can honestly recommend hugely. So the plural of tomta is the plural of tomta is actually tomten or tomtes. So this is the tomtas Christmas porridge. And what I love about this is it's just a wealth of, oh gosh, look, this is what children books look like, right? I'm not going to even show you that. Is the wealth of the colors and the detail and everything else. And so there's the whole tomta family sitting together, and this is the oldest tomta, and I think he is something like, I can't remember now, but he's very old. He's 150 years old, and then you've got all the children there, and then mama and papa tomta there. And so basically what they are doing, and this is what the story is about, they fear that the humans who are sitting all nicely here at the dinner table will forget to put the Christmas porridge out for the tomta. So they are going in there, and their whole farm is full of secret doors, and they work their way up. And where they are here right now is on top of the clock that looks down into onto the dining room, and they're all there, and they're obviously watching how Father Christmas brings all the presents, and how they are all, the whole family is having fun, dancing and being jolly around the Christmas tree after they've had their lovely Christmas dinner. And then they just basically realize that the Christmas porridge has not been handed out, so they're still sitting there waiting for the porridge to make its way out to the front door. So they realize they have to jump into action, so they're going to distract the family while one of them is changing the clock, so it chimes sooner than anybody's expecting. So while they're all looking at the clock, the tomtas are up the chair, get the porridge down, bring it down, and try and run out with it. And just as they realize they've forgotten to put a big knob of butter on there, Mrs. Tomta goes back, and she's spotted by this little girl who obviously saw it all happening and tells her family about it, and nobody believes a word. And then she makes them all go out, and this is where the Christmas pudding, the porridge stood, and there's all the little footprints. So I wonder who actually wins. But the main thing is that Papa Tomta is satisfied. He's got warm, hot porridge in his tummy with lovely golden butter on it, and a whole year of the favor of the Tomtas has been secured by Mama Tomta and her children jumping into action. However, you don't have to do this. Or I just show you. This is written by Sven Nordqvist. It is a florist book, and you can still buy it, and it's called the Tomta's Christmas Porridge. It's absolutely perfect, even for an adult, just to have it in your room. And I don't mean to take up so much time with this book, but it is definitely one of my favorites. It was my children's favorites too, and it just, to me, it just still puts the whole tomta theme into context. So there you go. Now you know why we're doing all these tomta every year. Anyway, we're going to start straight away by making this one, and I'm going to start with the beginning of the instructions. So the first thing you're going to need is your flexible steel wire, and you will need a little bit of glue. I've got my favorite stick it glue here, because we're making the hands first. And I don't know if I put it on this not very clean earth-friendly felting mat, because you might as well see it better against the it's not so good against the grey background. So the first thing you need to do is you take the whole wire and you add a little glue to one end, about 3 to 4 centimeters along. So you can do this by just squirting a bit of glue onto the wire here, just along, 3 to 4 centimeters along. I'm just resting it here so it's not touching anything. Close that glue bottle. And now I'm going to take a wisp of the flesh, nearly took the white then, a wisp of the flesh, less is more, remember, and I'm going to start wrapping this. You end up with a bit of glue on your fingers, start wrapping this so that is about 1 centimeter is of the wire is not wrapped in this really thin. You really want this ever so thin because we're making the fingers of the tomta, so we want them to be quite well, they can be a little bit chubby, but we need them to be quite distinct. So let's make them thin because we're adding more layers over the top. This will help you to get the wool fastened on without it sort of fluffing away. You can tighten it a bit along the wire. Remember, you've got the glue underneath, so that should grip into it. And you're going to go along for about 14 centimeters. So you can add more glue if you want. There. Do it in small increments. Add more glue. And when it's 14 centimeters, you stop. But let's get there first. Remember, on all of our instructions on the left-hand side, you find a tape measure, so you can be very precise how many centimeters you've done. So I'm only about at 9 centimeters. So I've got another 5 centimeters to go up. If your wool breaks, like mine has done here, just go back on yourself to secure the last wispy bits of the wool. This is the best way to make the wool disappear, rather than trying to make it stick on the wire, unless you've got glue on there, of course. There we go. You really want this to be nice and tight, so do keep tightening it, and the glue will do the rest. Add a bit more glue. We're going up another 5 centimeters now. And always remember to wrap the wool in the same direction as you did before. So I'm just going to establish it. And then I'm going to get a nice neat layer on here again. I'm definitely touching the glue now. So if you don't like touching glue, maybe wear some gloves or something, like some... it's better to have a really thin layer, as long as the wire is covered, than have it fluffy and bulky. You really don't want a fluffy and bulky fingers here. You do want them to be wrapped quite neat and tight. Just need to get the wool gripping again. And I am at 12 centimeters now, so another 2 centimeters. I want to turn this round and just twist the wire. There's a lot of wire waving around, so make sure you don't poke yourself in the eye. But I'm got caught a bit at the end as well. I'm just going to add a little bit more glue at the end, so that that part, or at the very end, has definitely got glue under the wool. So I'm twisting the wire around there now, and then I'm going to take that wool off. Right, that's my 14 centimeters on one end. We're going to do each hand at a time, and you're not cutting the wire. This is a complete long length of wire, okay? So now you if you have the instructions, follow the instructions. But once you've covered 14 centimeters, you tear off the wool and wrap around the wire to secure. Then bend the end in by about 2 centimeters. So it's really good to be precise. So I've just bent the end in by 2 centimeters. There. So that's identical to what it looks here on the picture now. And now you bend it back by 1 centimeter. Now on the back page, there is a template if you want to follow that, because this is in effect what you're doing, and this is how far we've got so far. So you can follow the template if you want, or you can also just always bend the wool covered with the wire covered with wool in by 1 centimeter. Now you see why we need to have such precise measurements, and you need to have obviously 1, 2, 3, 4. We're making 4 digits, we're not making 5. So you need to do this so long until you've got your shape here. If some of them are slightly longer, the fingers, then that's fine, but try and make them all the same because they sort of end up being different lengths. Once you've done that, this is a really easy way of making hands, by the way. You're going to now twist that 1 centimeter wire that you've left uncovered around the base. So if you need pliers, use pliers. Make sure that all the I definitely will use pliers because mine is just popping open. I thought I brought the pliers across, so there's always something that I'm missing. Okay, I'll just use my steel fingers. So use pliers if you need to. I'm just going to use my fingers a bit more. Right, here we go. So now it looks quite strange because it looks like you've got sort of a fan that's opened up, and that's exactly what it needs to look like. And now you're going to take really small amounts of wool and you're beginning to wrap each doubled up wire, because that makes one finger, really tightly because you want them to be nice and neat. Wrap each one up. Make sure that you haven't got any wispy wool sticking out. You do this with each one. So number 2, all the way down to where they all meet. And if you get to a point where you've got some wispy ends sticking out, then just take your medium needle and just felt into that gap that you know is there, just to tuck away any wispy fibers that are. This is a notorious needle breaker. Actually, in the instructions it says fine needle, but if you get a medium needle in there, it's a little bit more sturdy to do that. And then you've got 2 more to go. Here we go. 1. And you really need to get as close to the top as you can so you don't see the wire parallel running to each other. And then finally we do the last one. So just tiny wisps, working with open that up again. Okay, just pinch that a bit more. And the last one now. And once that is done, then we got to go to the next step. So now you've got the fingers. What's missing is actually the palm of the hand and the wrist. So this is where we're going next. So first of all, you're going to bend these a bit closer together again. These fingers, so they look like that now. Okay, and now you're going to use more wool and you're going to build up the wrist. So you're going around the wire, also where you bent the wire in, so get rid of the sharp end, and you're just going to build up some bulk. You shouldn't need any glue, but if you feel happier to put it on there, then do so. And work your way up towards the fingers, but also build the bulk of the wrist. Now we're going, the rest of the arms will not be covered in the pink. It will be covered with a different color. So we don't need to worry too much how far down we go and how neat it is. But you're also going to weave now thin strands in and around each finger too, and felt it down as you go. So you need to just make sure that you go in between these fingers. Let's go around it. And some more, because now doing this, you're building the palm of the hand. So you want to go in and out around these fingers to build up a bit of bulk at the base of the fingers, and that will, it will actually look uncannily like a hand suddenly, albeit that it's only got 4 fingers, but you know, tomta are different. So, and once you've done that, you're going to start felting into that hand by trying to get the needle in there without stabbing into the wire. So you might have to do this as a very shallow angle. You might be able to go between the wire. Just see what you can do, what the best is. And you felt this down. I'm actually not even using my fine needle. Maybe I should follow my own instructions. What have I got? Let's get a fine green needle. I don't know if I've got one here. Ah, there we go. So using the fine needle to go and felt this down so the wool doesn't look so wrapped and so, yeah. And you can see that the length of the digits have sort of automatically adjusted themselves. They were all the same, but now they look slightly different length. And so you don't need to worry about having longer or shorter fingers when you first bend the wire. It kind of sorts itself out. Oh dear, my glue's dripping onto the table. Need to just wipe that off. Should have closed the lid. Doing that now. Right, so one hand is done, and well, we need to add a bit more wool onto it, because what you also want to do is you want to now bend it so that it's slightly like a curved hand shape, and now you can add a little bit more wool around the outside to cover up any wool that looks like it's been wrapped. So just add the wool on the outside and then felt it down, and that has taken care of one hand now. And then you do the same process on the other side. And I'm going to I should have done one hand in advance because I've got to do the same again, so I don't want to make you all be late. So what I might do is I might do the hand at the end when I'm ready to attach the arms and get on with the rest first and come back to the hand again. So one hand is done. I'll show you in the big camera as well. There you go, you've got one hand done now. You can felt this down a lot neater with less fluffy bits sticking up. But what I want to do now is I want to get to the main shape of the tomta. So the main core wool, you split this into 1/3 and into 2/3. So it's quite a lot here that you've got here. Just do 1 and 2/3. I think that's about right. It's not, if you want to weigh it, feel free. The quantities obviously are in the instructions. You can weigh the whole lot as well and then split it. And you take the larger portion, this is the 2/3, and of core wool, and you lay it flat so it measures about 6 centimeters in width. And the length can vary. So make sure that you've got 6 centimeters in width. Now I'm going to go to the overhead camera and show you the next step. So roll your wool in. Remember, it's 6 centimeters in width. Roll your wool in from one end to the other. If need be, fold the sides in if it gets too wide. Remember how we roll a shape, you have to tease the end of the fibers out, so get as many wraps on that main shape and as wispy ends as possible. So the smaller you make this, the shorter your tomta will be. You really want it to be a nice, neat size. Once you've got these last wispy ends, that is when you use your coarse felting needle, stab the last wispy ends into the shape, and it will now hold its own. And you're now going to work the shape so it fits the template on the back of your instructions. So you really need to felt this down quite a bit to make it fit that shape. We want it to be a nice, neat, small shape. Now for this, if you want to speed your work up, you can use a multi-tool. I absolutely love using my metal tool here, which has got a key ring on it, and we call it a mobile multi-tool because you can literally put it onto your bag and take it with you. And I really like this tool. It really works ever so efficiently, gets these fibers felted down really solidly, especially if you're sort of working to just shrink the shape rather than refining it. Works really well. I do also like, obviously, the Clover 3 pen tool, which I know is Alicia's favorite. We all have favorite tools. I love it that we're all different, and that I often just work with a single needle, I will be honest, because I just like using a single needle. This is the Clover tool, and you can use that as well. Put different size needles into any of those tools depending on what you're working on. So you can make this quite work this quite quickly for you as well. We have just added 2 new tools in there which are very similar to the Clover tool. I'm not saying they're the same in terms of quality, but certainly in looks they are the same. So as a comparison, this is the Clover tool, the darker pink. This is the new one. So I'm just going to take them apart so you can see them side by side. There's very little difference. I think there's a little bit of a quality difference when you feel it and so on. It also has this part coming off, which the Clover tool does as well. And then the one thing that I do actually prefer of the new tool, because not that it has any purpose whatsoever, or I haven't found one yet, is that you there's like a secret compartment on the back of just need to find the right groove, on the back of this Clover tool, and I can never open it. It really literally is impossible for me to open it. But guess what? this one does open really easily. And we have this in the blue and in the pink. Now what might be a good idea is, because you're loading your needles up, your whole pens up with different size needles, maybe use this as your main one, the clover one, and then have the others sort of maybe the ones that you don't use so often, and have different types of needles in there. Maybe have one with fine, one with whatever. But I must say, I do like it. It has ever such a slight difference in terms of quality to the Clover tool. So obviously you are paying for the brand, as you always do. You're paying for quality. But if you're on a low budget and you just want these pens, or because they help your needle felt, and you find it really hard to hold a single needle, then I really don't think there is a problem getting these. They're half price in comparison to the Clover tool. So yeah, just try it out. It's probably not much lost if you're trying it. But if you love the Clover tool, stick with them, because I would say they're definitely just that little bit better quality. It's also the same. You can open them up and obviously change the needles. So I'm just going to have a quick look how that compares, because I genuinely can't see. I mean, other than it's a different color, it's probably a better what's it called? Don't know what it's called, but that's probably slightly better. This is a bit more spaced out. The shades, you can't interchange them, so there is a difference. I don't think. Yeah, you see that doesn't, well, it does fit, but not that great. And the lids also, they don't fit on. So this is the Clover lid, and it doesn't fit on here. It's too tight. So you do need to, you can't get the lids muddled up. You need to keep the lids exactly on the right tool. There we go. Right, anyway, that was sort of demonstrating those. Let's have a look. Oh, that's shrunk enormously. Okay, right, just a bit of stabbing with a multi-tool, and I'm just going to even out the bits that are a bit bumpy with my single needle. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is look at the instructions and see what happens next. Okay, so we now need to make the nose and the cheeks, and from the 1/3, so this is the bit that you still got left over, split off 3 equal pinches, making sure to leave some aside later for the legs and eyes. So you don't want them to be too round, I guess, so I'm going to split off 3 equal ones. Just check them out, because you need to make a felt shape of about 2.5 centimeters in diameter. Doesn't have to be that big, but if you roll it into a ball, you sort of get an idea of how big that is going to be. And I'm going to stick with a slightly smaller. There's plenty of white wool left, so if you want to stick to the 2.5 centimeters, then go ahead. I'm making this one slightly smaller, so I'm just going to roll this up into a small ball shape and felt this down exactly in the same way as you felted the main shape. You're going to felt these down. Watch your fingers. That's all I will say, obviously, because you don't want to stab into them, but you have to hold onto the shape quite close to where you're stabbing. So just be mindful that you keep your fingers and your needle away from each other, and then just felt them down. You're making 3 little ball shapes. Just stab into them. They don't need to be massively firm. We can still shape them a bit once they're getting onto the face. And I'm going to do another one here. Right, roll this into a shape. Yeah. And get this felted down as well. All 3 of them. Now they might turn up slightly differently sized, and if that is the case, as long as you've got 2 the same size, you can use them for the cheeks, and the one that's a different size, slightly smaller or bigger, use that for the nose. So we want 2 to be the same size, preferably not all 3 different sizes. So make sure that you aim for at least 2 being the same size. That's usually what happens with me. I try and make them, and then one is always slightly odd. So you can have an odd shape, because you can use that for the nose if one is slightly bigger or smaller. Okay, how's everybody getting on with their Christmas decoration and Christmas shopping and getting into the swing of Christmas? How is everybody getting on? It's I don't know. I wish we had that snow virtually now, next maybe now or a week later than it was, because then we'd have a white Christmas. Well, I don't need to go anywhere. Once it's Christmas, that's it. I'm staying in one place. I probably don't even move from the sofa very much. Yeah, I love Christmas. Just it gives me permission to have a rest, because I know there's nobody at the end of an email, even if I send it or even if I try and make some waves. There's nobody will respond to it. So I really like that, to be honest. So let's have a quick look at what people are talking about. Remember, we repeat this on Thursday evening, which is today is the 20th. On the 22nd, we will be repeating this. Now, Alicia, how actually that might be quite good to know. How are you going to manage that repeat? Because you will not be in your usual place. So maybe it will be one that's not supported by Alicia on this occasion, which I think is perfectly fine, because we will have our staff Christmas party. Right, so we've got oh goodness, so many chats. Oh, okay. Alicia just said she's going to do the repeat on Wednesday night, so you will have her there, and yeah, no, she'll be with you, but on a different date. Not on the Thursday, but on Wednesday night if you're watching this again. Okay, so Angela has arrived late as work is getting in the way. How dare they? Huge thanks to Steffi and Alicia for all the lovely make-alongs this year. They are my favorite part of the week. Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Thank you. But they're also my favorite part of the week. Elaine says, hi everyone. Sorry I'm late. Just walked back from town. Ah, good. So mittens would be so cute. Okay, I'm going right back into the middle of conversations that is just absolutely, oh, maybe mittens on the tomta. Yes, well, you can make different hands, actually. We have got another tutorial for making hands where they look more like mitten hands, so you can do that too. But then remember, he's sitting next to a fire. He can keep his little hands warm by just holding them close to it. I have the blue one, but can't unscrew it now. Think of the needles I used had a slightly bigger top which stuck into the plastic. Oh no, that's annoying. I've never seen needles of a different shape. Vampire Venom says, every time I hear noise, I'm looking at my back to be, I'm looking to in shelves, hoping stores have brought up the 134 units I need to book in. Not looking like I can in my jammies tomorrow morning now. Okay, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, because I'm obviously not in the slightest bit paying attention of what the chat is doing. So okay, I'm just gonna ignore most of this. Oh yes, so in reply to my questions, how are you getting on with Christmas? We have got trimmings all done, presents bought, just some food to buy. Excellent, that's good organization. I'm thinking of making reusable paper chains for next year. Will be sewn fabric with poppers. Oh, good idea, I like that. I have a new rescue greyhound, so keeping decks to a minimum. He would eat them. I know all about you, beautiful John, Laura. So I don't think it's a bad exchange. Have this lovely dog and less Christmas decorations. Who cares? Right, I've got 3 ball shapes now. I've got the big one here. Now I'm going to put them together and go to the overview scene so you can see it all, what I'm doing. Right, so we need to decide what the nose is, and I think it's pretty obvious. I've definitely got 2 smaller and 1 bigger one here. So I'm going to plonk this slightly higher than the middle onto the shape, and I'm stabbing into the edge. If any of you have made Mr. and Mrs. Tomta with me before, it's a live stream on our YouTube channel, but also we're selling these as a pack, then you know all about how you're going to add these shapes now to make the nose and the cheeks. So by just stubbing in around the edge and catching the smaller shapes edges and pushing the fibers into the bigger shape, that will attach it just enough for what we need. And then you're putting the cheeks here slightly lower than the nose, so just slightly below the nose. And obviously you have to do that symmetrically on the other side as well. So I'm just stabbing into the edge of the ball shape that I've made, and the wispy fibers get pushed through to the main shape, and that just attaches it enough so that I don't have to hold onto it anymore. And then you do it on the other side as well. It looks very weird when you do this at the moment. I know it does, but it will all come and make more sense in a minute. So the shapes are down. You can still felt into them if you want to make them smaller. There's probably still quite a lot of air in there. So you can do that now if you want to, or be ready for the next step, because what we need to do next is we need to take some of this pink wool. I need to obviously still make one hand. And you're going to spread this over the shapes that you have felted underneath, so that you've got a nice taut, you can see a little face coming out there, can't you? Nice taut cover. And now you're going to felt this down around the edges first, so that you just get this pink wool down, basically. Get it down so that you don't have to hold it tight anymore. It doesn't need to come all the way around the back and the bottom. It just needs to cover the face part. So definitely the forehead, going over the head slightly. So I'm felting it down all the way around where the wispy ends of the sheet are smoothed over the main shape. Okay, and then I'm going to slowly edge my way towards the shape that I know is actually underneath it. Now I'm using a very coarse needle here, so you could change to your fine or medium needle to make less big stubby holes, and felt the pink wool down so that it is now attached all over to your main shape. And in that gap here that I'm stubbing right now, that's where the eyes are going to be. So you can make a much bigger indentation there already as you're felting the wool down. So you do need to stub all on every single square millimeter of where you've added the pink wool. If the white shows through a little bit, I wouldn't worry too much about it. The reason why I'm saying this, I can't tell you. Because for most of you who've got the Advent Wreath, you know that there's actually another parcel that you can open on Christmas Day, which obviously I'm not going to spoil the surprise for you by opening it. You're going to have to work that one out for yourself when it's time to open it. But let's just say that there are some extras in there that will be quite handy to use. So felt the bits where the eyes are going to sit down and make an eye socket by just felting quite hard into it. And you have got a little face here. So eyes here, big cheeks, and a nose there. If it bothers you that it's the white is shining through, then just add a bit of more pink over it. But I'm not going to do that. I know that it's not an issue. Right. So there you go. That's as far as I need to do the felting down of the shapes. And now you're going to use a little bit of the white wool. You've still got some left, and you will still need some for the legs as well. And you're going to felt a little white disc into that eye socket that you've made. So felt that down. You have to make sure that one on one side is the same size as the other one on the other side. So they will be sort of quite sunk in. Again, you might just have to adjust some of the shapes around it. Take another wisp of the white wool. I sometimes sort of pre-shape it a bit so that I have an idea of how big it will be once it's felted down. Felt that into the eye sockets. That will sort of sink it down a little bit more. And then we're going to use our usual technique of how we fasten eyes into, in. And we do this by using a felting needle, and you put the felting needle all the way into the eye till it comes out somewhere at the other side. So don't have your fingers there. Give it a bit of a jiggle. And when you've done this, you should see you've made quite a distinct hole. And then obviously you've got your glue-in eyes in your pack. Take these out. And insert into the hole one side. And then you're going to do the other side as well. So push that in. By the way, if you want to vary your make in any, you don't need my permission to do that, but I just thought I should tell you that I love it when you all come up with your own ideas and adding little bits to it. So now you've got a little face here. We fasten the eyes in once they're in the correct position by just adding a dab of glue behind the eye. Again, I'm using my Stick It glue stick. Got glue on the wool as well. It will clear. The glue dries completely clear, so there won't be any worry about it looking weird once it's dry. And I'm going to just have to put this to one side now because I've got to catch up with my other hand, which I'm going to do very quickly now so that you can we can do the rest together. So remember, you might already have got two hands. I've stopped at making one hand here, and I now have to do the other hand, so to get to this so that I can then catch up with what is needed now. But I will do it here on the camera. I'll just speed up a little bit if I can. I'm going to put that glue in here now. It's another way of adding glue to the end of the wire. But then the very end is covered as well, but I'm just going to do that now for speed and wrap that onto there. So I'm going to just speed up this whole process that I've shown you at the beginning a little bit, just to catch up quickly on making the hands. Hopefully the second set of hands will be nice as well and won't look rushed. There's a big hand swirling around as I'm twisting the wire and allowing the wool to grip into around the wire as I'm twisting it rather than wrapping it. But like I say, don't knock yourself out with the other hand. At least it's not like a sharp wire end anymore now. Okay, so whenever I start with a new wool, I go back to the original position, so I'm not getting, I'm not wrapping the wool differently in a different direction. I'll go along the rest here. I'm going to have to measure that in a minute, just to make sure. Let's see. Ah, perfect. Okay. So get rid of the last bit of wool, and then I'm going to bend the end of the wire in by 2 centimeters with my 1 centimeter wire or thereabouts exposed there. And now I'm going up and down however long and however often to make 4 digits. So there we go, all the way. And then I'm going to twist my end of the wire shut like this, and now I've got to add individual wool cover on each of the fingers. Make that nice and tight and thin so that you maintain the distinct finger shape. That definitely helps all the way. And if you need to felt down some of that wool, just stop in between the 2 wires that you know run parallel. I'm saying use a fine needle, but if you can fit a larger needle in, then that's better. But if you have pinched them so tight that you can't, then use the fine needle as it says in the instructions. Go around it, pinch it a bit more, and pulling it so that the wire actually becomes a bit more closed, and wrap the fingers up. Step into it. I just caught a little bit of white wool in there as well. It's got a slightly white stripe. You can't probably see it, but I can see it. Never mind. Okay, 2 more to do, and then we can we're back to where we need to be with the body and attaching the arms. So put that around there. Let it down. And then the last one. It's really small amounts of wool you use for these fingers. It's just so that the fingers don't look like they've got two parallel wires wrapped around them or running beside them. Right, there we go. And then you pinch that shut again. So you have the fingers close to each other again. And now you're going to build the wool up around the wrist to cover that wire up. You can use glue to get the wool sticking whilst you're making a start, or you can just the wire is our flexible steel wire, so it has got a it has sort of almost a little serratedness to it, because they're also, we could call them twisted wire, I suppose, because that's in effect what it feels like. They are two wires really closely twisted together. And get that hand built up there. Well, you're building the wrist at the moment, actually. And then you are going to go in and out between the fingers to make the palm of the hand. So get it set up first of all, and then go round the individual fingers just with very thin layers, all of them, and repeat that. And that kind of builds the palm. So you might have to do that a couple of times. And it looks like it's wrapped at the moment, the palm, but it does, the palm or the back of the hand, whichever way you want to look at it. And then felt that down. I might have to put a little bit more wool on the wrist because this one feels a little bit bigger. Okay, just a bit more around the wrist. And then you're going to bend the hand into the curved shape, like it's got the hand cupped, like this. You can always bend the wire if the hands are pointing the wrong way. And then you put more wool over the back of the hand. The inside of the hand, it doesn't matter so much. It actually looks a little bit creasy, doesn't it, when you do this with your own hand. And then just add wool over the back of the hand and felt it down so that you cover up the strands that look like you've just wrapped it around the hand, which you have of course, but let's cover it up. So you can work on these a lot more and be a lot neater than I have actually done this right now, because I'm rushing it a little bit to not keep you too long. The good thing is, if you are watching this on replay at any point, because it stays on our YouTube channel obviously, so it will be there in years to come, the hand part, if you've done the first bit, you could have just fast forwarded the second hand and catch up on where you could be already anyway, having made the beginnings of the tomta. Right, I think I'm going to leave it as that. Could be a little bit neater, but I'm going to leave it as it is. Right, so we've got two hands. One is definitely a bit bigger because I probably rushed it. Wasn't as neat as with the first one. I'm going to get some of this wool tucked away in between the wire here. And that's okay, we don't mind. And now what you need to do is, this is sort of a little bit of a cruel thing to do, I suppose, but you're going to have to fit the hands onto your tomta. But if you fit them around like this, they won't be long enough. So what you need to do is you need to take some scissors and cut into the, oh, there's my pliers, I found them as well now. Of course I have. So you need to cut into the back of the tomta, and you're doing this about 1.5 to 2 centimeters deep, and this should be at the level of the bottom of the cheeks. So if this is the level of the bottom of the cheeks, you're going to cut into the back of him. Feels really wrong doing that. About 1.5 by 2 centimeters depth. So Just cut into there. So, because we're going to, the wire will get inserted in there, and that also takes care of the wire being visible. If you want the arms really long, you can always cut deeper. Right, so I'm going to put the arms in there now, and they fit in there quite nicely because that's just what they need to do. And this is what your tomta looks like now. He's got the arms coming round his front, and they should be sort of, you know, they should be a nice length. And you're going to close this gap now. You need to really insert the wire deep, and you're going to close this gap by stabbing into the two halves that you cut open without stabbing into the wire, and you can sort of close them up a bit again. The good thing is the arms will still slip one way or the other. So if you suddenly realize you've got one shorter arm than the other, you can always move them around again, because they're not actually secured in there. They're just trapped, but not fixed. So once that is felted down, then you're going to take more of the pink wool and you're going to cover more of the arms. So the arms are in there, but they are moving around. Oh gosh, I'm going out of the picture. Sorry about this, guys. So now you're going to use more of the pink wool and you're covering more of the arms. And as you're doing this, you are felting the wool at the top of the arm into the main shape, and that will now fix the arm. So add more pink wool and now felt it. Once you've done that, this is not the final cover of the arms. Felt that down, and that fixes the arms in even more. So you should have enough pink wool to do this. Felt it down, and I'm going to the next page. Yeah, felt it down. It doesn't matter if it doesn't look very nice. This is just to fix the arms in. This is not visible later on. None of this will be visible, other than the hands. The arm bit that you're doing right now will not be visible. So don't worry about it not looking very attractive. Just add more to the arm part. Go all the way up to where they come out of that shape, and then felt the wool down at the end to fix the arms in. And then double check that they are the right length, because now is the time to adjust them. So these look okay. So you've got the two arms sticking out on either side, and the top of the arm of the pink wool is what we use to stop the arms from sliding right and left. So felt this down really well. Use your coarse needle to do that, and then the arms should now be fixed. So they're now sticking out at the side and they're fixed down. Okay. And then the next thing is you need to color in the arms, the sleeves, with this ochre color wool. Use small quantities, and obviously you need to create the end of the sleeve. So you want to wrap that nice and neat around the end of the arm where the hand is, and then work your way up and equalize the width, because your arm might need a bit more than where the wrist is, where you've concentrated more of the pink wool. So work your way up. Don't use all of the ochre color wool because we need a bit more later on, but just work your way up and then felt that down if need be in the same way as you did. You can also obviously stab into the actual sleeve here as well, neaten that out a bit. Remember, there's a wire inside, so don't stab too deep into it with the going straight into the wire. It's always good to stab at an angle. That evens out the bulk on the arm a bit as well. And then you do this on the other side, obviously. So do this on the other side. I fear that we might be overrunning a little bit today, so I hope that you have got that extra time built into your day to day, and I apologize in advance, but if you need to leave, obviously, I understand. I am entirely used to talking to myself most of the time. It's quite nice. Nobody argues back. So wrap the wool around the other arm and then felt it down to secure, like this, into the body, and then also felt it, neaten it down a little bit where the hand is, so you've got a clear contrast between the end of the sleeve and the actual hand. And if you stab at a shallow angle, you don't get the fibers coming out at the other side. So he looks a little bit like this now, with his arms in place. There you go, swinging around with his little hands, which you can shape better into place later. And now the exciting bit is we're going to stuff our stripy legs here. So you need to cut these in half, and I'm just literally going to do it like this, line them up and cut in half. Now they have got a seam, so if you, we need to stuff them with wool, and if you stuff them too full, they will, the seam will come open. So use a knitting needle or a skewer or whatever you've got to hand. I'm just going to use this knitting needle that I used before for stuffing the tree into the wreath. Get that in there and start, come straight out again, and start stuffing the wool in there. Getting the beginning done might be a little bit tricky. You can also use a pencil, which is a little bit blunter. Let's do that. That knitting needle is very slippy. Right, maybe a pencil then. Use a pencil, unless you've got a wooden knitting needle. So you'll see if you stuff this too much, the seam will pop open here. So you need to stuff it, but don't go crazy on the stuffing. And stuff this so that you have now got a shape here, but don't overstuff it. You really don't need a lot of wool. This is probably sort of the biggest thing that I can say about this. Don't overstuff it, because you will pop the seam open. And of course, because you've cut it and it's a knitted tube, it will sort of want to unravel itself, but it won't unravel itself to the extent that you suddenly have got nothing left here. So you will be fine with that. Stuff the tube up. Get a nice even stuffing in there, but don't overstuff it. It's better to understuff it than to overstuff it. And do this for both. Put that in there. Come on. So one, and then the other one as well. I'm doing it in small increments, so you can do this, start it from one end and then do a bit more on the other end. Oh, going right through the stocking now. Don't worry about the ends looking messy. They won't stay like that, but just make sure you don't overstuff. Going in from that end now. Sorry, requires concentration more than usual doing this. Get the wool in there, and you can see how easily the seams, don't know where that bee came from, how it can get overstuffed. So I'm going to leave it like that. And now what you need, actually there's no wool in there at all. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. And now what you're going to do is, in the next step, you're going to needle felt the feet, the boots, onto the ends. So one end gets felted onto the tomta, and the other end needs to have shoes made on it. And for this, you've got the dark wool, and you're going to split the brown black wool in half and use a pinch of one half I haven't actually done that, so I should follow the instructions, and I put a pinch from one half. I'm going to start wrapping this about 1 centimeter, so you're literally getting rid of that last messy bit of that messy end of the tube, and stab it down through the tube, so that you're now building and layer onto the end. And neaten the edge because you want it to look like a boot. So stab into that space between the stocking and that boot to make a nice neat edge. And you've got the wool sticking out at the other end. And then you're going to neaten the edge by stabbing. I've done that, okay. And then you're going to continue wrapping the wool so that you build a separate sausage shape at the end of it. So you're actually extending the length of the legs by adding a separate bit of the dark wool on there. So 1 centimeter is covering the end of the tube, and the rest is actually a separate part for a foot felted onto the end. And that is then much easier to bend this into a boot shape when you're done, because it bends easier with not the tube inside, if that makes sense. So bend it back to where you've wrapped the tube. It should feel quite natural to bend it to that point, and then just keep stabbing into that area from all directions to make that foot shape separate. Okay, so you can stab from underneath and into the heel and into the back of the foot and back of the ankle, but just shape that to a separate shape. And then obviously you're going to repeat this on the other foot. So decide what's the top and what's the bottom. Take a strand of that wool again, wrap it around the end for about 1 centimeter. Okay, once it's wrapped around it, then felt it down, even with the wool hanging off there still. Let's get it fastened on. Stab into the shaft of the boot. You want to make sure that both legs are the same length. So maybe, yeah, that looks good. Make sure that you haven't overshot the ankle part. And then you build the foot part separately by just wrapping the wool around itself and always going a little bit further along and felting that down as well. So you can have bigger feet if you want to. Use more of the black wool and felt it down further along. That is probably one of the bits that takes the longest. The hat I can do quite quickly, even though if it's not felted down to its best felting down, if that makes sense. So shape the foot shape separately like this. And then make sure you've got similar size feet here. Either add a bit more to one or shape the other one down a bit. So make sure you have two the same feet. Do take your time. Don't rush it like I am doing this now, because I'm very conscious that I'm keeping you longer than usual. Take your time. There's no need rushing this. You have the whole of winter to finish this. It's on purpose not a Christmas wreath, because we want you to have this all year round. You can have this all year round. It doesn't have to be a festive wreath. It can be it can just be a wreath you've got all year round in your house. Right, there's the feet. Now we need to attach them. This is my favorite bit. So you're going to attach these as follows. You're not going to attach them underneath like this. You're actually attaching them to the side. So they're, imagine they're like hips on the side of the tomta. Bend the arm out of the way, and you can literally just stab into the top of that fabric, because there is wool inside, and the fibers will just sink into the side of the tomta. So just stab it into the side of the body. It's literally sort of under the arm, and then do this on the other side as well. Make sure you've got the feet facing the right way. With this one you can't twist them, so you need to make sure they're facing the right way forward, and stab into fabric. Remember, you've got wool in there for stuffing. Make sure the legs are the same length. Now is the time to make one slightly lower or higher if need be. Stub it down really nice and solid. And then you're going to color in the rest of the body with that ochre colored wool, of which you should have quite a bit still. So we're not worried about this part of coloring him in because the beard will be covering it, but you need to get the rest of the body colored in, and you want to put a layer of this wool over the joint where the legs are fastened on or attached. So that gives it an extra security. So you're now making sure that the arms are connected to the body with that color. The back of the tomta, felt it down. I've really enjoyed making this, by the way, for you and designing it, because I think it's a tomta, but it's different. And I'm just coming up with these different ideas of what other tomta can I possibly come up with when there's when it's one very distinct look, but there are so many different ways of how you can make them. So I have actually covered this now with the ochre colored wool, and now I'm covering the rest of him. So he has got this color all around him, but if you haven't got it's better to spend it on covering the parts that will be visible than covering the parts that won't be visible. And obviously he will have his fantastic curls at the front, and you don't need to cover that part of him with that ochre color. So use it up where it needs to be first of all, and then if you've got any left, you can use it elsewhere on his body, but get the important parts covered first, which are basically the back of him and the side of him and the underneath of him, because these are the bits that are still visible later on, and felt that wool down where it's actually needed rather than where you think he needs it, but actually it's not visible at all at the end of the day. So I'm just going to felt it down underneath him as well. There. And on his bottom. And I think I'm going to leave it as that. I have got some of the ochre color left, so I could felt more, but I don't need to, because I know the rest of it will be taken up with the beard, and it's not necessary to cover that up with more of the wool. When you get to this point, just make sure that you've got a tomta with dangly legs. So they are obviously here. I should have also told you that when you make the feet, to have the seam at the back. So on one of my feet it's at the front. Sorry about that. It does say it in the instructions. I just didn't think to mention it, and I also didn't do it myself. I'm gonna just add a little bit more here because it looks like you can see the arm join. It looks like he's wearing I don't know what he's wearing, something strange, but let's not think about it. So the main thing is that he's covered on his back and that he has got, the joins are covered. I'm really annoyed that I've got the seam facing the wrong way now, but if I turn it, the feet are facing the wrong way. So it is what it is. Maybe don't make that same mistake that I have just done. I did work that out before I wrote the instructions, but somehow I've forgotten about it. I'm just going to try and rescue this a little bit by twisting it and then twisting the foot round a bit. Okay. That one's facing back now, but we can make that face forward. So as it shows with needle felting, what I love about needle felting is you can actually adjust things even when you think you can't adjust anything. You can still adjust things. So I've actually managed to turn it around somehow. So that's not bad. There we go. Well, his foot is pointing slightly in a different direction, but again, I think I can probably do that later and adjust it. So the next thing you need to do is add his beard and his hat, and then this project is complete. Adding the beard is quite straightforward because you've got these fantastic curls. Like with all the curls, what we always say is make sure you sort through them, don't pull them, sort them out into individual strands. You can double them up, you can cut them, but whatever you do, don't pull the curl apart. So organize the curls so that you are happy with them. Cut them rather than pulling them. These are fantastic Teeswater curls. They're really, we've picked the nicest for you, the nicest white ones. And you could even almost, I want to say you can do it all in one go. You could almost do the whole beard in one go. I'm leaving a bit spare, but you could almost just put it down here and then felt it down from one side of where you imagine the ears to be, just there by his arms, and felt it down right under these chubby cheeks and his nose. Or you can do it bit by bit, whichever way you prefer. Just make sure that the curls are evenly spread out and they look nice and neat. And I'm not putting any curls on his back at the moment because he's actually going to be fastened onto the wreath next to the campfire, so you're not going to see much of his back. So I'm not wasting the curls there at the moment, but you can still add them at a later stage as well. So I've left a few curls out. If I need to, I can put them down for hair. Maybe put some in his face, like a fringe. And right, so they're felted down now. And for his hat, we've actually gone a little bit off the beaten track with colour. We've used this fox red, and so you've got a quantity of wool here, and what you need to do is you take this and you take a pinch off, a pinch which you might need later for making the hat, adjusting some of the hat in case it's got some unsightful things in it. What I will do is I'm just going to check in quickly how everybody's doing and if I've lost everybody yet. Oh, we've got a few less people here, but apologies for this. I'll be spending another 10 minutes probably. So yes, stay with us. But I also just wanted to quickly tell you before you run away that obviously this is our last live stream this year. And what's coming up next year is basically this. So we're starting the day, we're starting the year with the sub box unveiling at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, the 3rd of January, which is going to be fun for showing you the tawny owl and the toadstool fairy, as well as the having a talk about the surprise box, which is the cozy nights. That's what it's called. So from then, from the Tuesday, the 10th of January, we're going to start our giveaway competition again. So you can enter to get a £15 gift voucher from there on. And then we're having the 3rd live stream of January of 2023. We've got it as the Holly Fairy, which obviously is the December project, but we haven't really done anything about that yet. So tune in for that, obviously. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make the hat very quickly, the basic shape at least, and then you can see where it goes from there. But you need to split the remainder of the wool into 2. And so I'm just going to go back to the overview scene. And if you've got one bit that looks more like a sheet, then put this to one side. So if one looks more, like a sheet, this looks a bit more knobbly, then use the one that looks less like a sheet and roll into a soft ball. So you want to roll this into a soft ball, same as you did with the small cheeks and nose shapes and also with the main shape, and just felt that down so that it stays together. You don't need to felt this very solidly. It just needs to be holding together. In fact, I don't want you to felt it down solidly because it has a particular role, this ball shape, when you're making the hat. It should measure about 5 to 6 centimeters in diameter. Mine's 5 centimeters, that's fine. And now you're going to take the sheet that you have got here. So you need to split that out. So it's about 22 to 25 centimeters long. And make sure that you, so you've got, let's see how long that is. Yeah, that's about right. And you've got to fold in the base. So you're folding this over. So you now have a neat edge here. And you lay that ball shape into the center here. And now you're going to fold the sides in. So this is not very scientific, but fold the sides in so that you've got now the ball trapped inside like this. It's all very softly folded over because this is going to be the top the hat that will have to fit onto the tomta's head. And you're going to felt this close, just briefly felt it close. That's all you're doing, a few steps. So you've got the ball shape inside, the hat looks messy and open at the top, but it's closed in, okay? And now you're going to shape the top of the hat by teasing it ever so slightly with your fingers. It still looks messy, but you can see the shape is coming along because you're pulling these fibers up, and you're going to felt these into a tip of the hat. So felt these down like that, going all around. You need to tease your shape off your felting mat, obviously, because you're stabbing right into it, but just get the tip of the hat done. So what you've got now is you've got the base roughly done, the tip of the head roughly done, and then you've got a messy bit in between. And now you're going to get rid of that mess by stabbing into the hat gently. And the main thing is that you stay away from the edge, don't touch it anywhere there. Just stab into the hat and follow that shape so that you are turning it from almost like a bulging candle shape into a pointy hat. So that wherever you stab the needle is where the reduction takes place. So where it's bulging out, that's where you need to stab in. And even though it doesn't feel like you're doing a lot of felting, with every stab you are felting that shape down a little bit more to turn it into a nice solid hat. So keep turning it, don't concentrate your needle too much in one spot. Just keep moving along the hat, and slowly but surely I can so feel now how this hat is firming up. It goes so quickly. And use a single needle. I really don't think you should use a needle pen, because it will go way too fast if you do that. You really just want to get it bit by bit felted down, but it needs to be changed around a lot. And at some point you can stand the hat up like this and then felt down diagonally into it. That sort of helps the shape it helps the felting, but you're not shrinking it too much, because if you stab straight into it, you're really reducing the size. But right now, all you want to do is firm up the wool without changing the shape to become smaller and smaller and smaller. And the reason why you've got this extra bit of wool is because you might find some unsightful things here. You can cover it up, but don't do that just yet. When it's felted down enough, then put this hat onto your tomta. Get him to sit down nice and obligingly. And this is a bit of a pulling job, because you have got that ball inside and you now need to pull the hat down onto the tomta's head. So as soon as you've got it down, if there are some weak patches, don't worry. As soon as you've got it pulled down, stab into the ball shape and into the head at the same time with your coarse felting needle. Get the hat fastened on, but make sure that it's well over his head. And reaching down into his face even. And don't worry if you've got weak patches, or if you've even pulled a bit of a hole into it, because that is why we've kept that extra wool to one side to make any adjustments and any corrections. Just get the hat felted down. So he's got it on his head now, and now you need to work this brim, whereas you also still need to work on the shaping here. But to get this edge done, stab a bit closer to the edge of the hat. Now that he's got it firmly on his head and it's covering up all the bits that needs to cover up. So you need to pull it right down, even if it shrinks up, just pull it right down. Don't be afraid to give it a good old tuck, because you don't want that to be visible. You want that to be covered. So give it a pull it down, and then felt it into place, so that everything that you want covering with that hat is covered now, right down to the back of the tomta. And so stab a bit closer to the edge as you're doing that. And now you can stab also, once you've done that, you can stab into the gap between the hat and whatever is next to it to even out the edge. So you're almost felting into the base of the hat underneath it. And that will also help to neaten the edge of the hat out a little bit and even it out so that it's the same all around. And then the rest of it is literally a question of you just stabbing more into the shape to shape it whichever way you want to. On our one, we've got the hat slouching down because it's quite a tall chap to sit inside the wreath. I'm just going to add a bit of wool here because I've literally pulled that part open when I added the hat onto it, but I can so easily do this now. You can also adjust the edge by using a bit of wool folded in half and let the half side of it I'll show you. So if you have something where you're not happy with the edge of the hat, you can use the same wool, folding it in half, and then imitate that edge by just adding it to the hat and felt it down at the top where the wispy ends are first, and then work your way towards the edge in the same way as you did before. So you can literally add a bit of hat to your tomta, and you won't know later on that you've even done that, because that's the nature of needle felting and adjusting any kind of well, mistakes, not necessarily, but just adjusting everything that you're doing away on the way as you're doing it. And before the hat gets too solid, make sure that you fold it into the shape you want it to. So give it a good old shaping here with your hands, and then felt into that so that you can make sure that the hat can slouch down on one side. If you prefer the hat to be tall, do that, but just grab your wreath, mine is here, and because you're going to have that tomta sitting here on the side, and he's going to be close to the fire but not that close, so you need to make sure that he can be fastened on, and it's almost like sort of he's sitting on an imaginary chair here on the side of the wreath. So if you want the hat sticking up, fair enough, but if you just want him perching here on the wreath, then all you need to do is just stab into, like you did before, into the shape. It's really hard to do this without holding it up, into the shape and into the wreath all at the same time to get him fastened down. You might have to lift his beard a bit to get right in there and getting him secure. You can even, with his legs, he can have them sort of dangling, or you can sit, whichever shape you want the legs to be. They can be crossed over, but you can even stab into those and fasten them on a little bit so that they're not literally disappearing. It's entirely up to you how you want to do this. I'm just going to hold this into the front camera because I consider this now a finished project. With the exception of the bits and pieces, which I'm not going to tell you what they are, that you will find in your Christmas special or Christmas bonus, which you can open on the 25th of December. Anyway, there's your wreath. That's it. You've got your wreath done. Well done, everybody. What an achievement. Yeah, make sure you hang it up. Find a nice cozy spot. Make sure that tomta is fastened on properly. I haven't done that really very well yet. You can stab into the edge of the hat at the back as well. Nobody needs to know how he's on there. Just get him fastened on, and then find a really lovely place to put your wreath and have your tomta watching out for you over the winter and all year round, actually. And I'm really sorry I've overrun by about 25 minutes. It's just one of those things. I'm just going to see who else is here. Oh, most of you are still hanging in there. Thank you very much, everybody. Yes, he's doing the splits, absolutely. Thanks everyone. Enjoy, says Karen. Thank you all for watching today, and have a great holidays season. I join Alicia in saying that I am I just want to give, I know I say it every time, but I do want to give you a very heartfelt thank you. If you still looking for a treat for yourself, we have got spaces available at our winter retreat. We have got single rooms available as well now. So please do get in touch. I wish I'd been able to make a fantastic, ginormous, big unicorn yet to show you all what is actually possible at our winter retreat. But I'm working on it over Christmas and New Year. And Colette is helping me with this, who will be there to teach you in January as well. Oh gosh, so much happening. I've got exciting news which I'm going to share with you right here at the end. Watch out in the new year for our new branded products coming out in cooperation with Percy the Park Keeper. We love Percy the Park Keeper. He stands for everything that we stand for. Get children out into nature, be kind. There's always room for a friend, and what better message is that than to give to you all over Christmas as well. Be kind, there's always room for a friend, and get out into nature to enjoy what gives us all a warm fuzzy feeling around our heart, and is free. It's free, it's out there, and it's magic every day unfolding in front of your eyes. So lots of love, happy Christmas, and or holiday, however you're celebrating it, and I shall see you again in the new year. Bye.